This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
It is the After Party live on Waterfall Wednesday, I believe it is. Thank you for being here. I know, kind of weird timing today. Kind of throws me off when Mark ends a little early. And I'm like, should I start early? What do people want? Anyway, here we are. Here we go. Thank you for being here. Looking at everyone. Rev P with all the good emojis and a hello. Nice to see everyone. Ren wishing us all a happy Wednesday. And Jim looks like Jim's having a tough time. Sorry to hear that. Yeah, he's received sad news. Going to use the after party as a diversion. Well, then we'll divert away from that. Apologies for whatever you're going through, but we will show you some waterfalls and we will give your mind a little bit of ease. How about that? We'll try it. Do want to thank everyone for contributing to this crowd-funded show. That includes Rhonda A., and Carol S., Gretchen L., Laura W., Linda G. Thank you for your monthly PayPal contributions to the After Party Live. It's because of you the show continues. So thank you very much for the contributions. Got a lot of stories from teacher Lori. She sent me a whole list and I'm so grateful. Thank you very much for the contributions to the show today. We will start with this story. This is really kind of a cool picture. It's Banksy art. Yeah. It's piranhas in a police box. And I was thinking, what's a police box? Like, is that where they stick the bad people? No, I think it's a little hut where the police sit and people know they can go, knock on the window where the police keep watch and they have a little place safe from the rain. I don't know. But here's this piece of public art. Banksy painted these piranhas around the edge of the glass of this police box. You can kind of see through it. I'll go back to the other picture so you can tell that it, you can see through it, although it is a bit of a visual impediment. So if you were in the police box looking for crime, maybe you'd have a hard time. I don't know. But this piece of public art is now being moved. It will go on permanent display at a museum in London, the London Museum, as a matter of fact. This piece was a part of Banksy's Animal series that appeared around the city of London last summer. And in 2026, it'll be bound for a museum. Technically, the piranhas are graffiti. So it's gone into storage, this police box, before it will debut at the London Museum next year. It appeared out of nowhere overnight. He did it overnight in August of 2024. And Banksy did confirm on Instagram that he is the one or she that created it. It was part of a series of 9 public artworks that were animal related. This is the 7th of 9, 7 of 9. And right after the debut, they pulled the box from the street. They put it on display at this municipal building where people could see it from behind a barrier. Now it's in storage ahead of its permanent display at London's museum's new location, set to open next year. And now they say from Banksy's piranhas to Roman graffiti, the first piece of contemporary street art, the work is one of the world's most iconic artists, now belongs to all Londoners and will keep making waves when it goes on show next year. So that's pretty cool. At least it's preserved and saved. The website for the London Museum says this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to reconceive what a museum for London can be. So I guess they'll have a lot of graffiti there, a lot of interesting things to see. The other animal artwork that Banksy created includes a mountain goat, 3 monkeys on the side of a bridge, a gorilla at the entrance to the London Zoo. I remember there was some kind of a goat on top of a car as well that we talked about. Kind of cool. Some of them were vandalized or stolen. There was a howling wolf on a satellite dish that was stolen. There was a mural of elephants that was defaced. And so that's why the London Council is moving to protect the other works. Now, kind of cool just to be able to see it. Let's talk, can we, for a moment, about giant chunks of the seafloor. And thank you to Teacher Lori for this story. This one is weird. I think it's a weird story. Like, how did it get this way? What's happening? There are giant chunks of the seafloor that are mysteriously upside down. No one knows what the hell is going on, but it's on the ocean floor of the North Sea, where scientists say the seafloor is behaving in an unusual way. It's very unexpected. They have discovered hundreds of sand mounds, vast sand mounds. Some of them are several kilometers across. And according to the University of Manchester in the UK, they defy fundamental geological principles. These mounds are piled on top of these structures called sinkites. And it's a process called stratigraphic inversion. But they have never seen this before in such large numbers. It's a geological process they say we haven't seen before on this scale. We've never seen anything like it. They say what they found are structures where dense sand sunk into lighter sediment that then floated to the top of the sand, flipping the conventional layers that we'd expect to see and creating huge mounds beneath the sea. They say these geological layers are supposed to follow a certain kind of order. It's consistent with the linear progression of time. The older layers toward the bottom, right? The newer layers closer to the top. If you're new, to the top. If you're old, to the bottom. It's kind of the order in which this sediment was deposited over time. Stratigraphic inversion or reverse stratigraphy happens when the younger layers sink down and the older ones rise to the top of the formation. They say there's a number of ways it can happen. You can see it in rock slides, perhaps tectonic movements, the earth shifting, the plates moving around. But they've identified these sinkites at the bottom of the North Sea using detailed seismic data. That's with acoustic waves traveling through the earth. And they can reflect differently from materials with different density properties. And then the scientists can analyze the seismic data and map the different types of rock that the waves traveled through. So they say these large parts of the North Sea floor are upside down with the younger layers of sand buried beneath the older layers. And the younger layers are denser and heavier than the soft, lighter material that was below. So over time, they sank down, displacing the older, more porous material and forcing it upward, where now it sits atop the denser sinkite. They're calling them floaties or floatites, rather, floatites. They think the process happened between the Miocene and Pliocene about 5 million years ago. That's how long this has been going on down on the ocean floor. There's so much we don't know about the ocean floor. There's so much we haven't discovered. So now the team is working to validate their interpretation. They are looking and trying to understand the Earth's crust, where it's weak, where it's stable, and what the processes are that can change those kinds of properties. They say their research shows how fluids and sediments move around the Earth's crust in unexpected ways. But if they understand the sinkites or floatites and how they formed, they say it could significantly change how we assess underground reservoirs, sealing, and fluid migration, all of which are vital for carbon capture and storage. So, very interesting the way that happened there. Also, a story from Teacher Lori. It's throw a baby puffin off a cliff season in Iceland. We talked about this last year at this time, and here it comes again. These young puffins sometimes leave their burrows alone without the help of their parents, and they find the ocean every year, but some of them don't. Some of them wander away. And so you've got to help them. So these people in Iceland have these late night puffin parties, and they go and they find the wayward puffins and they toss them off the cliff into the sea, which is where they would be headed anyway. And so here we are again. The folks in Iceland are helping guide boats into the harbor and looking for puffins that are struggling and having a hard time. They say that some of the puffins can land in nooks or crannies and they need to be helped down. There are many residents searching in the night for baby puffins. They're also called pufflings. And in this town of Vestmannaeyjar, I said it completely wrong, but there's 0% chance of me saying it right. That's the best I can do. It's in the Westman Islands in Iceland, and it is right in the heart of the largest puffin colony in the world. There are 1.6 million puffins sharing the island with more than 4,000 humans. And every summer, hundreds of townspeople in Vestmannaeyjar, including families with young kids, search high and low all around the village for these puffins who are wayward and lost. They take them home, and then in the morning, they throw them off a cliff because by that time, the puffling's parents have already checked out. If the puffling goes in the wrong direction, it's likely that they won't find their way to the sea without help. So they help, the people help, and they do the puffling parties. And you would think with 1.6 million puffins on the island that they would be a nuisance, but no. As a matter of fact, the Atlantic puffin is a species in danger. It's listed as vulnerable. And the Iceland population in particular is critically endangered. The folks there say Iceland has lost half its population in the last 30 years for puffins, and it's a critical flag. 40% of the world's Arctic puffin population resides in Iceland. So when their populations decline, it's a threat to the species as a whole. They say if it keeps going like this puffin species will vanish. And so every little bit helps. When the residents get out there, find the puffins, help them survive, they say every little bit helps. And everyone in this town has a story to tell as well. They say, bloodied hands, broken toes, daring feats to get to the puffins. Just about everybody has a puffin rescue story that they can tell. So it's time. The puffin saving is on. I can picture them in Iceland right now, throwing those puffins off of cliffs. This another story from Teacher Lori. It's like an embarrassment of riches. How beautiful is this? It's a crocheted canopy. So beautiful. I love this story. Thank you so much, Teacher Lori. People are planting vines or hanging up crocheted panels to create cool spaces. The crocheted canopies, it's a 3,000-year-old Persian technique. And temperatures are rising, and so people are coming up with new ideas. Now, this is in Spain. There's a brutal summer heat wave there. And so residents of this one town, Jerez de la Frontera, are coming up with ways to reduce temperatures, keep things cool. In this particular case, they're doing it with vines. I have a picture. I believe I have a picture of the vines. Hmm. I know I have a picture of the vines, but they're planting the vines in a really cool way where they can grow and meet in the middle of a street. Oh no, there's a my picture file is corroded. What a bummer. Let me try it one more time. Nope. Ah. Well, you see the crocheted canopies here, but in other situations, they do see if I can make it big. I've not have to share my screen with you. I'll try one more time. Um, they're planting these beautiful vines, and the vines grow up the side of buildings, and then they train them to meet in the middle over the open air of the street. And they create these really cool, literally, spaces where you can take a breath, relax a little bit. No, it's not going to work. So I'm going to share my screen. They call it a perfect symbiosis of the vines. Look at how picturesque this looks to take down my crochet. Look at that. You can see the vines as they grow overhead. I don't know if that, you can take a look at that. You can see them growing, planted strategically in certain areas, and they've been trained to just grow and meet in the middle. And it creates this shady area and cools the whole place down. In other spots, they're doing it with crocheted canopies. But this is a technique that is not new. 3,000-year-old technique that usually consists of diverting cool mountain water through underground channels. That is then they dig holes at certain intervals to cool the surrounding air. So that's another way to cool these cities. The Colombian city of Medellin, succeeded in bringing temperatures down by 2 degrees through a series of 30 green corridors consisting of vertical gardens, plants, and about 1 million trees. And they say it not only cools the air down, it improves air quality, and it's bringing wildlife back to the city as well. So, pretty interesting. They say that shade trees offer further cooling. Sometimes they'll paint the roof of a nearby building to reflect sunlight, and they combine all of these things together to reduce air temperature, at least in one case, by 6 to 7 uh, Celsius degrees. And they're planning to keep doing it. The EU funding part of this project, they're using solar energy to drive water through deep underground channels, underground air captured and cooled, and then released through vertical vents along a canal to cool the air. And then the cool air trapped under these canopies. So that's pretty cool. Plus, I just love the way it looks. It's really beautiful. Can we talk for a moment about your ilium? I know. You think, why? It's because scientists have discovered key evolutionary changes to our pelvis. It's what helped us walk upright. There's a new study looking into the development of the ilium, that's the largest bone in our pelvis, and the genes that helped it form. So the ilium is like the dish, right? They say it's the bowl, the largest bone in our pelvis. They say, these scientists, in a new study published last week in the journal Nature, that there are 2 evolutionary changes that reshaped the human pelvis and paved the way for us to walk in the unique style in which we do. Scientists focused on this largest bone in the pelvis, the ilium. We have 2 ilia, one on each side, right? And together they form this bowl-like shape of the pelvis. So they went and collected 128 samples of embryonic tissues, comparing ileum development in various species. They looked at humans and mice and lemurs and gibbons and chimps and other primates, and they studied the cells, genes, I should say, responsible for the development of this bone. They said they were looking to try to get a complete story about how the pelvis developed over time. That, according to one of the lead authors of the study from Harvard. The analysis, they say, revealed two important differences between humans and other species in the development process of the ilium. They say first, not long after the ilium cartilage begins to form in human embryos, it makes a 90-degree turn. It causes the bones to grow short and wide instead of tall and narrow. And it's that broad basin like shape in humans that provides the anchor points for our gluteal muscles, which we need to be able to walk on 2 feet. It also supports our inner organs when we stand upright. And they think that this shift happened when humans split from apes on the primate family tree between 5 and 8 million years ago. Because in other primates, the ilium grows parallel to the spine. But the shift seen in humans makes the ilia grow perpendicular to the spine. And that was the change, and a bit of a surprise apparently for scientists. They thought they would see more of a gradual shift. Then they said the bone cells that eventually replace the ilium cartilage form later in humans than they do in other primates, about 16 weeks after much of the rest of the human skeleton. The process is called delayed ossification, and it allows the human pelvis to hold its shape as it grows. And the scientists think this shift, about 1.6 million years ago when we started to develop bigger brains. That this evolutionary change was important not only for us to become bipedal, but for us to give birth safely to offspring with big old heads. This way, the pelvis could grow in size and maintain shape important for walking, but also it retained the shape of a birth canal that could be used to allow the passage of a big old brained baby. So now we know how our ilium came to be. This is something that goes on in my house. It's kind of it's been a thing because Julia loves to drink energy drinks, not the big ones like Monster and Red Bull, not those. Like the more mellow ones. Like oh god, what is it called? It's kind of got a hippie name. I forget the name of it. But they have doses of caffeine in them. And I have for a long time not thought this was good for kids. I think Nikki and I back on the radio were talking about this. And so I've kind of had a kid ban on energy drinks. And it turns out, vindicated, because now the entire country of Britain is banning energy drinks for children younger than 16, at least the sale of them. It's a proposed ban at this point that they're thinking of putting into place under their Food Safety Act of 1990. They would like to prohibit shops, cafes, restaurants, and websites, that's going to be hard to enforce, from selling energy drinks containing more than 150 milligrams of caffeine per liter to anyone under the age of 16. And that would affect drinks like Red Bull and Monster, but it would not affect things like Diet Coke or tea or coffee. Minors would still be able to purchase those drinks. But they think that this will improve the overall health of kids. The Health and Social Care Secretary said energy drinks might seem harmless, but the sleep, the concentration, the well being of today's kids are all being impacted, while high sugar versions damage their teeth and contribute to obesity. 71% of teachers in the UK surveyed worry about their students consuming energy drinks. One teacher said the drinks create a situation in which students can't focus, can't sit still, and just think it's cool to drink them. Another one said energy drinks make it very difficult for students to focus and engage with learning and seem to make students noisier and agitated. You know, that TV chef, Jamie Oliver, he's also quoted in this article as warning about the danger of energy drinks, saying, "We are talking about 3, 4 shots of espresso in one of these drinks, loads of sugar. So, an absolute nightmare," he said. And now the UK could ban the sale of these drinks to anyone age 16 and under. Is that nanny government, do you think? Or do you think people, parents, need a helping hand to figure out that this stuff is not good for kids? Yeah. Monster Poison says, I want I want Shepherdnoge. Hmm. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. I like the picture that you used. Zero Sum says they should. Heart overstimulation is bad. Caffeine turns on our adrenal glands like a water hose, when our adrenals are supposed to sputter when they fire. Be aware, says parents need the help. Yep. It's bad for all the people, says Zero Sum. They're letting the people over 16 make their own bad choices, right? Ms. Organic says, I drink a grape 5-hour energy of going out after 10 p.m. You're, I would argue, a grown up. And so, without hopefully heart issues, the caffeine isn't going to harm you, hopefully. And maybe you're aware of how your body feels. And if it was, your heart was beating fast or you felt like you were amped or whatever, and you didn't like the feeling, you would be able to stop. Tammy says it keeps people from experimenting on their own children. Uh, Phineas wants me to get political, which I will not do, but thank you. Kids need guidance, says Gordon. Heather says deprivation is worse than moderation. Oh, to Yvonne. Yeah. Mama says kids always find a way to get their hands on stuff they shouldn't. You know what's interesting about that, Mama, is I have these bands. I've now remembered the name. Julia's drink of choice is yerba mate, which isn't as bad as the others, but I still won't let it in the house, and I don't want her to drink it. But I saw a picture of her that someone posted on their Instagram, and there she is at school holding a yerba mate, and I'm like, hey, you're not supposed to drink that. Heather says I have to force myself to drink actual water. It's so boring. I think, does it count as drinking water if it just happens to be infused with Coachella Valley coffee vanilla tea? I mean, I had to put a lot of water in the tea, so I'm thinking it's kind of like flavored water. I'm gonna roll with that. Joel's really bad, I think. Yeah. Mm-mm. So yeah, well, I'm glad we're all on the same page, it seems like. There is a new design for home security cameras. A lot of people try to conceal them, right? Try to, yeah, stick them in a little corner behind something, perhaps like the old nanny cam. Not these. These are right out in the open. They're art pieces that also happen to have cameras on them. Here's another photo of one. That one's on the beach. They're kind of these beautiful art displays. The company behind this is called Swift Creatives, and it's a Danish design studio. They're developing this collection of modular CCTV cameras that are meant to kind of look like silly straws, making home surveillance a little more playful. The sculptural surveillance systems have these powder-coated aluminum parts with different shapes and functions. They can be combined into your own very classy solution, put in your gardens, your landscaped areas. They have interchangeable heads that can be used to incorporate different technical features like cameras or lighting, motion sensors, speakers, and tracing lamps. It's all available in straight, bent, or wavy shapes. So you can kind of put the shapes together to create your own art. The design team says the concept not only redefines functionality in home surveillance, but includes a touch of sculptural and architectural sophistication to your outdoor space as well. I don't really like it. I kind of prefer a hidden cam, but at least with this, if you're walking up, you know you're on camera. There it is. They said they were trying to change conventional thinking around the utilitarian products that dominate the modern surveillance market and have become a familiar sight in urban environments. So, their sculptural surveillance system can be used to build everything from a tall, straight camera that rotates 360 degrees to surveil large areas to more loopy, expressive shapes reminiscent of candy canes and crazy straws. Hmm, I don't know. Here's all the pieces, the cam pieces. You can see how you would be able to kind of put these together. I don't know why. I hope it doesn't all have to be orange, but I don't know. For domestic use, it just seems like something maybe you might see outside of the Museum of Modern Art, perhaps, instead of, I don't know, at your house. Here's all the pieces that you can get. Well, and other straight long pieces as well. But here's you can see the microphone, the camera, the audio, the little twisty turny thing. You could get like 4 or 5 loop de loops. Put the camera on the top, put the microphone kind of mid level. I don't know. Again, here's one at the beach. It's one at the building. Those two kind of look the same. They seem to like that shape. I don't know. I mean, it's not ugly, I don't think, but I don't think I'd want it in my front yard either. What do you think of it? Would you want it in your front yard? Oh. If you wish to be obvious, says Ricky O'Bear, right? Be aware says it looks like one of those flexible pencils from the 80s. Yes, it does. Floaties with cutouts for cameras. Kind of looks like that too. Ricky says, yeah, not my style. Mm-mm. No, says Miss Organic. Not doing it. Tammy says, I live in rural Florida. If you don't make it obvious, the meth heads will descend. But if it's too obvious, maybe they'll descend and take your camera. Right? Gordon likes it. Mama says these make me think of Whoville for some reason. Cindy Lou Who. Gordon likes that it rotates. Yeah. Oh. Hopefully, Yvonne says the Gators can't get it. All right. Well, I know it's kind of interesting. You know, people are bringing kids to Burning Man. Have not been to Burning Man. I know some of you probably have, but I thought the whole like vibe of Burning Man was like free sexuality, some drug use, some art, you know, kind of a like a throwback to the summer of 69, but in a more modern way. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a place for kids at Burning Man. Apparently, yeah. Yeah, Liz says I thought it was for adults. Me too. Me too. Apparently no. To the point that, according to SF Gate, they're bringing Kidsville, which is a 1 block stretch of Burning Man, where they have banned open sexual acts. Okay, listen. If you have to ban open sexual acts, it means the rest of the place has open sexual acts. You're going to keep these kids contained to a one stretch block? And also, if your whole vibe is Burning Man, aren't you going there then as a grown up to be part of the whole open sexual acts, smoke we where my weed smokers at culture? No judgment here. You do you. Like, go rock it. But to bring the kids? Mm, now I'm a little judgy. Now you got me in judge mode. Yeah. No, I don't think this is a good idea. And why would you do that? It's dusty and it's dirty. Your kids don't care about the art. They just want to fling the sand around. There are free snow cones for the kids, spiked with Kahlua for the grown-ups. There's a trampoline for the kids. I don't know. They bring the little tiny bikes. Um, Kidsville, it's called. It's the part of Black Rock City in the Nevada desert that's a block wide, and it's populated by parents and children. There is an official mayor within Kidsville's bounds. Open sexual acts are forbidden, as are or is illegal drug use. One of the people that attended this with his wife and two young kids said, compared to running an 80-person theme camp, taking the kids to Burning Man was a lot more easy. Guy said, I used to party more. I used to stay out later at night. Now the kids go to bed at 10:30 and we stay up and have one whiskey. It's a pretty normal day for us at Burning Man. But there are multiple families bringing their kids to Burning Man. I don't think one block is going to cut it because the kids are probably going to see what's going on around the rest of the place, right? They have and SF Gate mentions it, the orgy dome at Burning Man. I don't know. Apparently, though, since the birth of Burning Man, there have been kids at this event. Since the first one in San Francisco in 1986. And kids 12 years old or under, get into Burning Man for free, which is, they say, very handy because tickets are about $750. But the Burning Man census that was taken last year showed only 0.1% of the about 70,000 people there are age 19 or under. That if you, though, roll down one of the streets of Black Rock City in the daytime, you probably will spot a pair of kids on the little bikes. I don't know. They say deciding whether or not to bring your kids to Burning Man is not an easy choice, and it's not to be taken lightly. That's out of the Burning Man Family Survival Guide. While it may prove to be one of the best experiences you'll ever have with them, not every child's personality and constitution is suited for Burning Man, and not every parent's dream of Black Rock City includes children. It's just a grown-up event, you know? If you want to go to a kid event, go to a kid event. This is why people without kids are super annoyed with these parents that bring their kids everywhere. Not every place is for kids. I'm just sorry, it isn't. If you want to go to Disneyland or Legoland or whatever, if you want to go to an arts festival on the weekend or a museum to share art with your child, maybe you want to be really safe and hang out in Berkeley for a day and kind of catch that vibe. Whatever. Burning Man is a place for grown-ups. It seems like that to me. No. But people do it. Even drive the kids around. There was one family that was serving lemonade as they drove around with their kids in the little Burning Man vehicle they created. I don't know. I say, not for me. Rev P says they just wanted to go. Kids be damned. Get a babysitter. I agree. I don't think that's Paris Hilton. No. Be aware. Phineas says, whose parents dropped their kids off at Kitty Corral at State Line while they drank and gambled? Or even Circus. They had a whole floor dedicated just to kids. Your parents would say, meet you back here in 3 hours or whatever it was. And you'd go around and I'd go around and play the games with my sister. And eventually you'd see one of your grown-ups after they were done. Absolutely. Heather says, I get so annoyed when people bring their kids to stuff like this. Right? I'm a mom and I'm annoyed. I did this story once for KGO. It was a Spotlight 810. And it was in the days when the the protests were going on, what was it, 99% or 1% or whatever percent of billionaires or whatever we called it back then, I forget. But they had this tent city outside of Oakland City Hall. And it was pretty rough. And people got mad when you bring your camera and you were press in there. All kinds of pushback against the media, and people were smoking pot. And it ended up being like a place for the homeless to just crash for a while. They had an excuse because technically it was a protest. There were some real protesters, but there were also a lot of homeless people there. But somebody decided it was a good idea to bring kids to the protest and have them sleep in tents at the protest. And they had a little coloring tent where the kids could color during the day and play with toys. And it was just like the most non-kid friendly place. And so I did a Spotlight 810 on bringing kids to protests. So this issue and I go way back. There are certain places that your kids don't go. It's just not kid friendly, and that's okay. It's okay not to bring your kids every friggin' where. It's all right. Lord, I agree with you, Heather. Come on now. Blue Spark says I added a sparkle onto you. My kids didn't even like the Renaissance Fair until they found the sword booth. I used to love the candle dipping at the Renaissance Fair. That was fun. Phineas says, give him an iPad. It's a cheaper babysitter. No, says Eileen. No. Kids at Burning Man. Jeez, that's how I feel. No. Tammy says, you'd really have to guard your mushroom chocolates. You really would. Liz says, someone who went to Burning Man was arrested for suspicion of assault. Yeah, absolutely. Happened this year as well. There's a big article on SF Gate about it. Mama says, what exactly are these kids learning? That debauchery is okay? And even if they don't see the adult goings on, it's just a place for all the other grown-ups not to have to worry about kids in their midst. If they go there for sexy times and mushroom times or whatever it is, they should be able to do it without worry that they're going to turn around and see some kid riding their bike down the Black Rock Street. And I'm not even a Burning Man aficionado. I've never even been there. I just think, keep your kids at home. Come on now. No, thank you. Heather says your lifestyle changes when you have kids. Apparently not for everyone. She says it's part of the deal. That's what I thought. Some people think they can just keep up their pre-kid life, and it blows my mind. It's just so silly. Be Aware is wondering what the quality level of the daycare employees is like at Burning Man. I think you have to stay with your kids and hang out with your kids. It becomes then a family trip, not a trip to get your rocks off, you could say, at the old Black Rock. Yeah. Haven't they learned the NyQuil trick? No. Blue Spark says we got our kids up early and went down to watch Ted Wygand and Jim Dunbar broadcast the news from the Fairmont. They thought it was sort of cool with free donuts and all. That's a family event. Absolutely. Heather says, yeah, let me enjoy my art and drugs without hearing a toddler scream for another Go-Gurt. Rev says there's just too many drugs laying around. Do people leave their drugs laying around at Burning Man? I would think that those would be a valuable commodity. I'm not arguing with you about drugs. I mean, I know you're right. So, no. Gordon loved the washerwomen at the Renaissance Fair. I'm sure you did. Ms. Organic says you have to understand it's a huge city and many good and bad neighborhoods, so to speak. Daddy daycare at Burning Man, says Phineas. Be aware says those drugs don't lay around very long. Nope. Ms. Organic doesn't want to hear the kids when she's there either. So yeah, I just don't feel like this is the place for kids. I saw this article and like my eyes pop open and I'm thinking again with the kids at a place where kids shouldn't go. I mean, I like the costumes and everything. Take your kids home, let them sleep in the bed. Let them get to bed at a reasonable hour and don't, you know, put them in the middle of the adult fun zone. Mhm. No. All right. It is time for I think we have time for it, at least a couple of them anyway. Waterfall Wednesday. Yeah. Let's do it. These are some incredibly beautiful waterfalls in Australia where shockingly, I don't think we have been before. But boy, do I have some pretty waterfalls to show you. Just gorgeous. Really, really gorgeous. These are the list is of the top 15 waterfalls in Australia. And I have to share my screen with you so that you can see the first one on the list. And it is beautiful. Just beautiful. I'm thinking maybe we need to have a trip to Australia on a Travel Tuesday because we need to go see some of these waterfalls in person, virtually in person. I don't know. Something more than we're getting. All right, here's the picture. Take this down, put this up, do all the things. You guys see that okay? Make it a little bigger. You can kind of see the green pool at the bottom. This is called Mila Mila Falls in Queensland. It is one of the most famous Australian waterfalls. It's in the heart of Queensland's Atherton Tablelands. They say it's a must-see, surrounded by a lush rainforest. The falls plunge 18 meters into a serene waterhole, perfect for a refreshing swim. Mila Mila Falls is part of the waterfall circuit. It includes Ellenjaw and Zilly Falls. And they say if you're a waterfall chaser, then you have to go see it in Queensland. It's one of the best waterfalls in Australia, and it often appears in pictures and movies and things like this. Okay, the next one is called Jim Jim Falls. I'm pretty much in love with that Jim Jim Falls. Look at that. Now, this is a view from above, but just wow. I'm going to kind of try to zoom in and I hope it doesn't make the picture blurry, but look at you see the blue of the pool? I mean, whoa, it's gorgeous. Cal, zoom back out. That is one pretty waterfall. This is Jim Jim Falls. It is in the heart of Kakadu National Park. And they say it's one of the most spectacular Australian outback waterfalls. It's a 200-meter drop. It's a must visit if you're in the Northern Territory. And during the wet season, the falls, they say, are a thundering cascade, creating an awe-inspiring Australian waterfall. They say this Jim Jim Falls isn't just a pretty face, it's also a significant part of the country's natural heritage. It's surrounded, as you can see, by these towering cliffs and pristine creeks. It's an authentic wilderness experience. Now, I'm looking at the beauty, but what we're not thinking about here is all the creepy crawlers out here in this nature area. You know it's Australia, so there's things that could kill you out there. But still, this is why we do this trip virtually. The waterfalls here are beautiful. The next one is called Purling Brook Falls, and it is in Queensland. And it's unique. It's pretty. It's not as dramatic, but they say it's a stunning example of the natural beauty found in Queensland's hinterland. It is in a UNESCO World Heritage listed rainforest called the Gondwana Rainforests of Australia. It's a 100-meter drop, It plunges into a deep, lush gorge, and because of its height and its beauty, it's a must-see for anyone trying to check out the best waterfalls of Australia. Super, super pretty. Purling Brook Falls. Perfect spot for a day hike. There are several different walking trails here and different vantage points of the falls and the surrounding landscape as well. Okay, this next one also very special at number 4. It is called Mitchell Falls. Would you look at that? You got some waterfalls, you got some rocks, you got some more waterfalls, you got some more pond, you got a waterfall into a swimming hole, then you got another waterfall into another swimming hole. It's beautiful. They say it's another iconic, awe-inspiring waterfall, the Mitchell Falls, a 4-tiered cascade, a true natural wonder. It is in the Kimberley region of Western Australia, spelled like my name with the EY at the end. They say it's a stunning visual display as the falls tumble down rugged sandstone cliffs, a favorite for people coming to take pictures. Although it's a challenging hike to get here, but you could also take a scenic helicopter ride to see it. But the falls are a highlight among the waterfalls of Australia, especially if you're looking for a unique and remote experience. Kind of beautiful. Here's another one that's a little magical at number 5. It's called the Russell Falls. Check this one out. And I'm sorry for the scrolling, but that's the way it has to be. Look at that. That's beautiful. I think that's really pretty. The Russell Falls is in Tasmania, Australia, and it is a standout among the Australian waterfalls. It is in the Mount Field National Park, a multi-tiered cascade surrounded by a lush temperate rainforest, offering a serene, picturesque setting, perfect for people that love nature. It is not the largest waterfall in Australia, but it's easier to get to. So it's a top destination for people that are visiting the Tasmania area. All right, we'll get to the next one. This one, look at that. It's beautiful. It's called Barron Falls, and it's in Cairns in Queensland. And after a heavy rainfall, it's one of the best waterfalls. You got the raw energy of nature thundering through the barren gorge. It has a dramatic drop and surrounding lush rainforest, so it's pretty impressive. There's an area called the Wet Tropics World Heritage Area, and this is one of the highlights. So you can also see this waterfall via the Skyrail Rainforest Cableway or the Kuranda Scenic Railway. So you can get breathtaking, beautiful views of the falls and the gorge. And during the rainy season, it is majestic. Speaking of majestic, how about Mackenzie Falls? Yes, please. I'll take Mackenzie Falls. That's so pretty. This is in the Grampians National Park in Victoria, one of the most iconic waterfalls in Australia. It's got a powerful year-round flow. A must-visit, Mackenzie Falls cascades dramatically over the cliffs into a deep pool below, offering a stunning sight. There's a rich wildlife in this area, rugged mountain ranges. They say the walk up to the base of the falls is worth the effort because you get a close-up experience of the sheer power of this waterfall. But if you don't want to take the hike, there are some less strenuous lookout points that offer equally impressive views. The Mackenzie Falls, a highlight of Victoria. The next one looks like it's off the beaten path, and it's called the Florence Falls. Look at that. It's got another beautiful pool down below. Florence Falls in Litchfield National Park back in the Northern Territory. Very picturesque, surrounded by a monsoon forest. It's a dual cascade waterfall that goes down into a crystal clear plunge pool So it's a very popular spot for swimming and relaxation. And apparently, this is very easily accessible. Just a short walk from the parking lot. You get to the platform that you get the beautiful views of the falls and the surrounding landscape. Isn't it beautiful? This is breathtaking. Just wow. Can I zoom in? Would you look at that? I mean, what? Yes, King George Falls. This is also in the remote Kimberley region of Western Australia, and it is quite the awe-inspiring natural wonder. As the highest twin waterfalls in Western Australia, they say these majestic falls cascade over ancient sandstone cliffs, dropping 80 meters into the tidal waters of the King George River. Best way to see it, you can see right there, a luxury cruise or a scenic flight. And then you get this unique perspective. So, so pretty. They say the remoteness of King George Falls means it's less accessible than other well-known waterfalls, but this is a memorable adventure. You take a Kimberley cruise or a scenic flight, and you get to witness the unspoiled beauty of one of Australia's most pristine environments, they say. So cool. The local people, the Balangara people, regard these waterfalls as embodying the male and female one cur or rainbow serpents. Kind of cool. Love it. So those are some of the best waterfalls in Australia. I just love them, especially this one. Did you have a favorite? I think this one's my favorite. I don't know. It's not like you're going to go swimming here, but still, that's pretty special. Go into the chat, see what you guys have to say. A yacht with a helicopter. Perfect. Where is the King George River? The King George River would be in, to go scroll back, but I think it said Western Australia, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's in the remote Kimberley region of Western Australia. Thank you for asking. I'm glad I had the answer. The last two are my favorite, says Be Aware. Tammy has 3 faves. It's hard to pick one, I'm telling you. Over the Falls in a Barrel. It almost looks fake. I know. Sometimes you see pictures of the world that, you couldn't even imagine, and it doesn't seem real. Like, that's really part of our world? Yes. Yep. Is that a billionaire yacht? I don't know. I think it's one of the tours. They take people out to see the falls. I know. Yeah. Wow. Northwest, very remote. I know. It's beautiful. And that, my friends, is Waterfall Wednesday. Hope it took your mind off the troubles. Had a little relaxation. You can picture yourself on the boat looking out at that waterfall. All right. Thank you guys for being here. I will tell you that tomorrow on the Mark Thompson Show, we do have David Katz, a former federal prosecutor, now defense attorney. And I'm excited because I always love his appearances on the show. I'm already putting together stories about the law. So if you have any, send them my way. And if you have any thoughts on topics for trivia tomorrow, categories, please send that my way as well. Kim@theafterparty.live. Don't forget the dot. Kim@theafterparty.live. And thank you for being here. Thanks for hanging out with me for this last hour. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow right back here on the YouTube for David Katz and for Trivia Thursday. Bye, everybody.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.
take pictures, send them in. We got to see it too. Take us with you. For trivia, you guys know all the alleyways in distant lands? I don't think anyone's getting those answers right. I don't know, Zero Sum. I'll poke around on the internet and see what I can find. Yes, always take pictures and send them in. We have to share them with the class.